I wanna be a provider. Gonna you with silk like a spider. Roll or die, you bet I'm a rider. You're outer shell, you're a secret insider. I wanna be a provider. Your guiding hand, your final decider. That bit of fuel to your fire, stoke your desire. Just let me know that you're mine. I wanna be a provider. Exchanging the yes in silence, with something unsaid on both ends. Surely we know the difference. Gonna you with silk like a spider. Roll or die, you bet I'm a rider. Your outer shell, your secret insider. And your fingers going
All right, guys, what is going on? What is good? What is good? Let me just fix my shirt real quick. Let me fix my shirt real quick. What is going on? All right, let's see. Let's see. All right, what's good, everyone? What is the tea? Hold on. Yeah, that was strange for a minute, bro. Instagram was like, yo, you gotta check your security. Someone tried to get you. It's like, well, what the fuck? What's the point of being verified then? What am I paying you for? But I've still got my Instagram account, so we're good. We are good. Okay. Yeah, we should be good to go. I'm gonna open the chat today. All right, chat is open to subscribers, just in case anybody wanted to, come on, ask any questions or whatever you got to do. But, I was thinking to myself last night, I'm like, again, like all ego aside, but I was thinking, I was like, you called out the low of the year to the day for stocks and indices, right? And then it's like, but one of your biggest and longest, I guess time frame wise, predictions had came true. Where this month is the month that we're seeing the end of IML / IM Academy / Eovia, whatever. Which, to some people is very disheartening. Some people are probably cheering. I mean, there's probably a mix of emotions and I guess the way that people are viewing what's going on. Right? So big groups of people like Trade House, Powerhouse, everybody's splitting up, everybody's leaving and, kind of doing their own thing. And, this is a big, I fucking told you so. You know what I mean? Like, I told you this would happen. So let me show you a couple things. I didn't realize that the article that I wrote a long time ago was I guess you had to be a member of Medium, I guess. You could only read the first few sentences before it cut off. So I basically copied and pasted that article and made it free. Let me see. That was yesterday, I think. Yeah. I want to cover this other one for a second. So we probably won't do too much price-wise today. I'll go over British pound most likely, right? If I can do another I told you so. Last night in the market review, I told you I'd wait to see what London does and then go from there. But, 32.61, that's done. So, a whole lot of I told you so going on. You like that? Both, Naruto. I mean, I don't know about 1 million, but we'll see. Yeah, 10K is pretty close. 10K is pretty close, but again, this is on Medium. I copied and pasted the same exact thing already for, I guess, non-member only. So, yeah, look at that. Okay, what is the date on that? August 18th, 2022. That is about 3 months shy of 3 years. Do you realize that? You realize that? And in short, what I was trying to warn people. I was trying to say, look, businesses, relationships, the Roman Empire, right? They come and go. They get built and they get destroyed. And I want to go over some of that today. And I got a lot of notes that we're going to have to cover. So we're going to have to go ahead and jump right into it, okay? So again, August 18th, 2022, you know, why businesses, organizations, and relationships rise and fall. So I won't read this whole thing to you, but I want to at least give you some highlights. So what do all of those things have in common? Is that they involve people, right? So that's the biggest thing. They involve a lot of people. So anytime you're going to start a community like this one or build a business, you know, something like that, you're going to have a lot of moving parts when it comes to people, okay? And that in itself is going to have its own, you know, set of issues, okay? The ultimate cause of success or failure in these ventures comes down to people, all right? The ones who matter, that most don't realize, which is everyone. Every person matters. If you can't understand this, then you're likely to eventually run into serious problems, okay? First, we need to look at who runs the company, okay? Who runs the company or the organization? So you don't have to, I don't want you to put any names in the chat, all right? I don't want to be dragged into some fucking lawsuit, okay? You don't have to name names, but just think about if you were in any sort of MLM company, right? I just want you to think about who those leaders were. Who's the CEO? Who's the head of marketing or the head of whatever, okay? And then obviously all the subgroups, you know, in between. Educators, whatever. Are they a good person? And I'm not referring to what they pretend to be on social media. I'm referring to who they really are. Right? Humans can be ruthless, disgusting, filthy, disturbing beings, but we can also be loving, nurturing, kind, forgiving, and generous. You know, a little bit more, I guess, details in that regard. What do you mean, Jordan? Expand on that. Expand on that a little bit. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of person am I? What kind of person, what kind of person am I? What kind of people do I follow? Again, not who you or they pretend to be. Who are you really on the inside and the outside? Compare your words with your actions. And here's a huge hint into reality. Actions speak louder than words. And I think a lot of people forgot that over the years. All right, so on and so forth. It's actually a little bit longer than I thought it was, but all in all, what I tried to get people to realize is where that company was going and where a lot of leaders were going was the wrong direction, right? So, in short, how did I predict the fall of $1 billion company? It's character. If I had to dumb it down or simplify it down into one word, it would be character. And so if you're ready, drop some ones in the chat and we can go over some details. Drop some ones in the chat if you guys want to go into some details. Some of you might not care. Some of you might just only be here for the price action, but life is more than just trading. You know what I mean? There's a lot more that goes into trading than just, oh shit, we finally took the highs too. Damn. Right there. I figured we'd fucking do that. I figured we'd do that. Nice inversion model down here, by the way. Right? That same trade that's been happening over and over again. Leaving behind internal range, liquidity, taking liquidity, and then shifting price delivery, low risk buy up to liquidity. That's just nasty. I missed it. I didn't take any real trades today. I only was like dicking around on demo. That'd be a good title of a stream. But that was pretty solid, and we just took that. Oh, that's a good point, Jordan. You're brought into a group or a company by someone, and if you leave that company or if you leave that group, people treat you like you're the enemy or act like they don't know you, is what you meant. Right. That's just one more, I guess, swing of the axe to that tree. You know what I mean? If you think about a tree and you take an axe to it, obviously 1, 2, maybe even like 20, 30, 40 swings isn't going to cut down that tree. But eventually another swing, and then finally it just takes one more swing of the axe and that tree goes down, right? Sometimes they say the straw that breaks the camel's back or whatever. It's the same idea. So to me, right, the fall of $1 billion company, it's not just from one incident. It's almost never from just one incident. It's always a series. It's a multitude of events, basically. Okay? So there's two. Well, I was taking notes and I wrote so many I didn't have time to go through what else I wanted to go through. I wanted to show you a little bit of Ecclesiastes, and if we have time, I'll try and cover that because there's some good points in there too. Welcome to the SMS membership, Chris. We appreciate you for being here. Drop some celebration emojis for Chris, birthday emojis, celebratory emojis for Chris, our newest SMS member. So welcome. The first book I'm going to tell you about, I told you about many years ago. While I was reading it, I also shared quotes from it. We'll go over the first one because there's only a couple things here. The first one is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Okay? The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Let me ask you this, chat. If you've ever heard of the 48 Laws, if you've ever read the 48 Laws, I want you to write power into the chat. Okay, if you've ever heard of Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, right? Never outshine the master, stuff like that. Write power into the chat. I want to see who has read it. Leveled up my IQ and circle after that, Sean. Oh, I didn't even see what Sean wrote. Been shunned by some old school friends since leaving that company. Oh yeah. Yikes. Well, again, today's an I told you so kind of day. We're only going to have one day like this because we're going to get it all out and then I'll be done. But I got to get it out. I fucking told you so. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, so 48 Laws of Power. So let me get through a couple things. I want you to realize 48 Laws of Power is a playbook. Okay? Now you can use it in different ways, meaning you can use it for your own benefit if you'd like, or you could use it as a defensive tactic. You could say, okay, let me learn the 48 Laws of Power, so that way when other people try to play games or try to, you know, finesse me, I can recognize that and potentially, you know, prevent them from doing so, right? some of the laws, out of the first 47, because law 48 is assumed formlessness, which means you got to adapt to the situation. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But some laws are defensive, some laws are offensive. So let me give you an example. Law number 4 is a defensive law. Do you guys know which one that is? For those of you that have the 48 laws of power, do you know what the 4th law is? Law number 4 states, always say less than necessary. Now, why is that important for today's discussion? I'm not going to go, obviously, over all 48 laws, but I'm going to go over some laws that a lot of people violated over the years. And I've probably done it too. I probably have definitely, violated law number 4. Always say less than necessary. So why would I say that this company and a lot of people, even after they left the company, violate this law? Always say less than necessary. So number 1, the income claims. Number 1, the income claims. That's saying too much. Number 2, the lifestyle claims. The lifestyle claims. Well, hold on, John. You're always like wearing Corvette hats and the Corvette shirt. You got it on right now. You got the flag back there. Like, what do you mean? Well, yes. But did I show you the cash I spent on it? Did I show you the money order or the cash or anything like that? No. No. Do I flaunt it, as much as I thought I would? No. I try to be respectable about it. You know what I mean? Moving on. Number 3, using words like profitable, profitability, right? Oh, I can promise you profits. That's saying too much, which is also wrong and illegal in the US. So that's a big yikes. And I remember that one time when everybody was on the binary train, and when people asked me, I told you to stay away from binary. But nobody listens to me. Then you got your ass fucking clapped, right? That whole money in minutes idea. Do some of you guys remember that? That movement? Money in minutes? Drop some 2s in the chat if you guys remember that dumbass shit. Money in minutes. Edgar remembers. This was a while ago. Okay? Some of you might not be OGs. I've been around the block for a while. I know a lot of things. Netflix better not hit my fucking inbox. Oh, Mr. Flood, we'd like to interview you for this documentary. Sign me up, coach. Sign me up. I got a microphone right here. Send me the Zoom link. You don't even got to write a check, Netflix. What did I say yesterday? I got more tea than your favorite Starbucks, baby. Let's go. That documentary will be 8 hours long. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. We're not doing all that. We're not doing all that. Anyway, but those are at least the first 3 things that I thought of, right? So violating law number 4, which is always say less than necessary. Number 1 was the income claims. Number 2 was the lifestyle claims. Number 3 was just saying the word profitable or profitability in that whole money in minutes movement, money in your sleep. I think that was listed in one of the lawsuits. Money in your sleep. Like, ooh. So, I mean, that's that. And law number 5. Do you guys know what law number 5 is? We won't spend a lot of time on that one, but it is good to know. What's law number 5? Yep, Proverbs 10:19. Too much talk leads to sin. That's a good one. Short, sweet, and to the point. It emphasizes the wisdom of restraint and thought communication. Yeah, thank you for that chat GBT ass comment, Ram. We appreciate it. So much depends on reputation, right? Law number 5. What did I do with it? Oh, Tripping, it's right here. Law number 5, so much depends on your reputation. Guard it with your life. Now, the Stoics would actually slightly disagree. Your reputation, you don't actually control 100% of. William B. Irvine would probably put reputation in the category of influence. So most of you guys know the dichotomy of control, right? That's the T chart. Things we do control, things we do not control. So the Stoics would put reputation in the you do not control category. William B. Irvine was like, well, let's add a let's make it a trichotomy. Let's add a middle segment of, or a middle column of things we don't fully control, but we can influence. So I think reputation is somewhere in the middle. Like you have some say of your reputation. You could obviously self-destruct, and you could try to shape your reputation as much as you can. So I'd say it would go in that middle ground, right? Where you control or you influence some, but you don't control it entirely, right? And I don't have any notes for reputation, but what I'm trying to tell you is that the company and the people within it, most of the people that were in it, that were in leadership positions, were not concerned with reputation. Otherwise, they would have done things to protect it. All right, we're going to skip all the way almost to the end. Law number 46 and law number 48. What is law number 46, chat? What is law number 46? This is one of my favorite laws, too. This is a good law. We could almost argue it's like the law of humbleness, if you will. Right, so law number 46, never appear too perfect. Now, that's easy as an educator, because I'm not always right. No one has 100% strike rate. So in trading, that's easy. But in network marketing, in business, and in leadership, that's one that a lot of people violate. They try to pretend to be perfect, like they have no flaws. Let me ask you this, chat. I want you to think of 3 key leaders, okay, that you know of within the MLM industry. Again, don't put names in the chat. Just think of 3 leaders. It could be the CEO. It could be an educator. Not me, okay? It could be anyone. Just think of 3 people. You don't have to write them down. Just in your head, think number 1, number 2, number 3. These are 3 leaders. Could be the person that brought you in. Could be whatever. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Out of those 3 leaders that you're thinking of, or maybe only 1 or 2, how many times have you heard those leaders apologize? How many times have you ever heard any of those leaders admit that they did something wrong? You ever thought about that? Drop some 3s in the chat if you're like, well, I've never heard it before. I've never heard them apologize before. Or drop some 4s if they did. I'm going to give them a chance. Drop some 4s if you did hear them apologize or admit to wrongdoing, or drop some 3s if you're like, nah, John, they never did. They never admitted to wrongdoing. Never said, I'm sorry. Never said, I'll try and do better next time. I don't have control over the chat. You guys can type whatever you want. But I'm willing to bet there's going to be way more 3s than there are 4s. MJ's got a little bit of both going on. 3-3 or 3-4. So mostly not. Maybe a little bit. Well, do I need to even further prove my point? All right. Law number 46, never appear too perfect. So number 1, a lot of people never showed their flaws despite many of them. And number 2, or well, the second point rather is, why should you not appear perfect? Because this is what happens. People start to build resentment, people start to get jealous, and people start to hate you. You would think, oh yeah, you know, me becoming successful or whatever, you would think that people are going to be happy for you. That is not the case, bro. People don't like that. Well, people of low character don't like that. And people will start to get upset. Oh man, we grew up together, we struggled together, and now they're winning. Man, that should be me. Low character. You know? So law number 46, never appear too perfect. It's okay to apologize. It's okay to admit that you're wrong. Oh, hey man, you know what? I kind of got angry in our conversation the other day. I was pissed off about something else. I kind of took it out on you. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. You know what I mean? That goes a long way. People think that apologizing or admitting mistakes is a sign of weakness. It's not. It's not. All right. And law number 48, assume formlessness. Assume formlessness. In the 48 Laws of Power, one of the stories that Robert Greene talks about was the Spartans and how they kind of locked themselves, you know, within the walls, and they failed to adapt. And that's basically what led to their demise. So it's the same thing. You know, within the entire MLM industry, there's a lot of violations of law number 48. Failure to adapt to circumstances, to problems, right? Which to me is still the most ironic thing, because an industry that promotes personal development, they don't do a lot of it. I try to. I like to think I'm a better person than from 2019. That's when I joined the industry. I joined the industry to literally teach smart money concepts because I knew nobody had them. Well, that's probably an overstatement. There was a little bit, but there was a lot of missing information that was going on. That's why I joined the industry. And that's why, for those of you that have been around for 3 or 4 years, you remember who brought a lot of new stuff to the industry. Trade House and I did, of course. But I brought in a number of new things, right? More on that a little bit later, but let me get through this because we've already been here like 30 minutes and I'm not even on this other one yet. All right. So those are the 4 laws that the industry violated. Law number 4, 5, 46, and 48. Okay? Moving on. So in case you guys came in late or didn't know what we're talking about, we were talking about the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Okay? So the next book, which to me arguably has a lot more juice in it, to me, especially when it comes to talking points. If there was one book that I had to say, look, how did I predict the fall of a billion-dollar company? It would be this one. Also by Robert Greene. The Laws of Human Nature. Right? See all those tabs and stuff I got in here? The laws, and I didn't even tab everything. I only tabbed like 80% of it. The Laws of Human Nature. So why this one? And it's not an easy read in terms of length. It's a very dense book. I did not read The Laws of Human Nature in like a week or 2. I forgot how long it took me, because I think I was reading this one in between like a few others, so it took way longer than it probably should have. It took me months. Grandiosity law? Yeah, Mason, that's probably true. But I got a lot more content here, and we're only halfway done with the stream, so I need to hurry this up. If you're ever going to take notes, you don't have to, but I at least want you to listen for a minute. The Lehman Brothers showed us that nothing is too big to fail. That's number one. Because I know a lot of people over the years were saying, oh, you know, this is the biggest company. We have the biggest leaders, you know, making all this money, whatever, 150 educators, you know, XYZ, XYZ. But if there was one thing that we could learn from the 2007/2008 housing crisis, it's that nothing is too big to fail. There's no such thing as too big to fail. I mean, look at the Roman Empire. Way bigger than, you know, companies from today. They still fell, right? So whether you look at history, whether you look at modern examples, nothing is too big to fail. So that's number one. Okay. Here we go. Under laws of human nature, okay, I want to talk briefly about the appearance bias. We see people not as they are, but as they appear to us. And those appearances are usually misleading. Appearances are deceiving. So what we have to do is we have to pay deeper attention to people. How many people do you think are actually wealthy wearing designer brands? Because most of them are not. Most people that wear designer, Gucci, Louis, whatever, all that shit. I have a couple designer things, but I don't hardly use them. The colognes, yes, but not the... I have a Gucci watch I spent almost $1,000 on many, many years ago. I've worn it like maybe a dozen times or less. I don't really care about it. The Gucci glasses, you've hardly seen me wear them. But most people that have that stuff aren't actually rich. They're in debt trying to get that stuff because they use it as a status symbol. Most people aren't rich. They just want to like appear to be. And that's bad. Okay. So appearances are deceiving. Number one. Okay. So going and skipping up to chapter 3. See through people's mask. Train yourself to ignore the front that people display, the myth that surrounds them, and instead plumb their depths for signs of their character. Okay, that's probably single-handedly the biggest key. Okay, remember I told you earlier, if I had to take an entire idea, an entire discussion, and condense it down to one word, how did I predict the fall of $1 billion company? It's character. A lack thereof. Okay, character is a big deal. So I got a little bit of text to read, so stand by for that. This is all from Laws of Human Nature, by the way. People of strong character are open to new ideas and ways of doing things without compromising the basic principles they adhere to. In adversity, they can retain their presence of mind. They can handle chaos and the unpredictable without succumbing to anxiety. They keep their word. They have patience, can organize a lot of material, and complete what they start. Not continually insecure about their status, they can also subsume their personal interests to the good of the group, knowing that what works best for the team will in the end make their life easier and better. That's on page 120. That's a pretty good paragraph, isn't it? A lot of what I saw in leadership, there's a reason I read like over 20 John Maxwell books in 2022. Okay, there was a reason for that. And that whole time I know I've said this before, but while I was reading those books, I was constantly comparing the two. What is John Maxwell talking about? And how am I, how am I acting? What am I doing and saying? And then what is the company doing? And I could tell a lot of what, like 80-90% of what we were doing was wrong. Okay? And that's why it was such a big deal. And that's why I kept reading into it. And I wanted to start doing leadership trainings. Nobody wanted to show up. I started saying, hey, there's a lot of like what we would call today red flags, right? There was a lot of red flags all over the place. And to be honest, I felt like one of the only ones who could see it. I'm like, how can you not? It's kind of like a setup, right? You know, all these goobers on Twitter are like, oh, today's price action sucks. Yet the same model that I use is killer. It's like, how do you not see it? It's right there. The fucking imbalance that becomes an inversion is right there on the way to some highs. How do you not see that? It's so simple. It's so obvious. How do you not see it? Right? And like, that's the feeling that I had back then. It's like, bro, these people are not who they say they are. They're on stage doing and saying one thing, but then they're off stage doing something else. This is not sustainable. This is a red flag. Nope. Nobody really cared. Nobody cared. Okay. Still on chapter 3. Weak character will neutralize all of the other possible good qualities a person might possess. Did y'all hear what I just said? Well, I said it, but Robert wrote it. Weak character will neutralize all of the other possible good qualities a person might possess. So character is obviously a good base, isn't it? Moving on to chapter 6. Elevate your perspective, the law of short-sightedness. We have to train ourselves to continually detach from the immediate rush of events and elevate our perspective. Instead of merely reacting, we step back and look at the wider context. We consider the various possible ramifications any action we take. I mean, I guess it is a law, but a lot of this was not going on. People were not reviewing their performance. They were not, taking feedback and listening to other people. Right? Oh, I'm a chairman. I'm this. I made $33 million. What could any of you tell me? That's a real quote, by the way. That's not me making fun of. I mean, I am making fun of him, but that's a real quote. I ain't going to tell you who said it. You can read the lawsuits for yourself, but that is a real fucking quote that somebody said to somebody that I know, because they told me directly from them. They were like, yeah, he told me I made $33 million. What the fuck could you tell me? Jesus. Right? Ego. What are some of the consequences of short-sightedness? Number 1, unintended consequences. People leaving, losing rank, damaging reputation, lawsuits, all of which probably would go under the category of unintended consequences. Number 2, tactical hell, which in short is several struggles and battles and constantly reacting to moves going around in circles. Basically, you're going around putting out fires and not getting ahead of the fires, basically. You're reacting to everything instead of trying to get in front of it and preventing the fires from happening to begin with. Does that make sense? Drop some 5s in the chat if that makes sense. We got no 4s today. Drop some 5s in the chat if you guys are with me so far. I got you, John. It's about character. It's about, no company or group of people or country is too big to fail. There's a lot of mistakes that were made, and I appreciate you going over it. Drop some 5s if you guys are still here. All right, moving on. We're going from chapter 6 now to chapter 13. Advance with a sense of purpose. Without belief systems or conventions in place, we seem to have no obvious compass. Oh, I'm tripping. Let me start that over. Sometimes the way he writes is a little weird. Without belief systems or conventions in place, we seem to have no obvious compass points to guide our behavior and decisions, and this can be maddening. How many of you know what compliance is? Y'all ever heard about compliance in the MLM industry? Do you know why companies have a compliance department? Compliance is basically the legal rules to follow, like not posting profits. That's one of them. Lifestyle claims. That's another thing. You know, promising profitability. That's another thing. All three of those violate compliance. And yeah, Naruto. Basically. Like obedience, following the rules or the laws. Yeah, compliance is there to protect the company. And it's there to follow the laws. How many of you are aware of a compliance, but you're also aware of a code of ethics? Watch this. Drop a 6 in the chat if you know that the company you work for or worked for in the past or were a part of had a compliance and a code of ethics. Drop a 6 in the chat. If you're like, yep, I know about compliance, and yeah, we definitely had a code of ethics. Drop a 6. I want to see something. I want to see how many 6s we can get in the chat. And I definitely want to give it like at least 20, 30 seconds because I want you to think really fucking hard here. Yep, there was a compliance, and I also know about the code of ethics. Drop a 6. And not a fucking one of you. Not a single 6 in the chat. Right. I don't even need to say anything else, honestly. That proves it right there. That proves my whole point right there. Every job has, I guess, maybe a code of conduct, possibly. But they have compliance. But why do most companies not have a code of ethics? You ever thought about that? Yeah, Jordan. Yeah. All right. Still on chapter 13. We gotta hurry this up. I might not even get into everything today. Advance with a sense of purpose. Here's other notes that I have. Money, pleasure, power, and attention are false purposes. They lead to obsessive behavior and various dead ends. Money, pleasure, power, attention are all false promises. They lead to obsessive behavior and various dead ends. Am I wrong? Is laws of human nature, is that wrong? No, that's spot on. Damn, that fly is still in here. One of the ways to develop a sense of purpose: lose yourself in the work. The emphasis must be on the work, never on yourself or the desire for recognition. Okay? If there's one group that didn't get recognition, it was Trade House. The Trade House did not get anywhere near the recognition that they deserved. And I sure as fuck didn't get any recognition that I believe I deserved. But we won't. We got too many things for me to rant more on that. Chapter 14. Resist the downward pull of the group. Assemble the right team of lieutenants. You want the most competent person for the job. I could probably do a whole stream just on that. You also give great consideration to their character. Boom. There's 2 different qualifications right there. You want the most competent person for the job, and you want to give great consideration to their character. Boom. I agree, Edmundo. Actually, the guy that sold me the Corvette. I told him I was coming in soon for an oil change, and he was like, I'm not a salesman anymore. I was like, oh. He was like, yeah, I want to spend more time with my family. I was like, oh, that's spot on. That was a good decision. So anyway, moving on. Let information and ideas flow freely. Encourage frank discussion. The greater connection to reality, the better your decisions. Like I said earlier, people didn't want to listen to me. They didn't want to listen to Trade House. They didn't want to listen to any educators. They didn't want to listen to someone like me who probably reads, a lot more than most of the leaders in that company. And it's not even about that. It's not about just, reading and, being a good trader and stuff like that. It's more like, hey, there's a lot of good information out there and you're ignoring it by not reading. And you're also ignoring it by not listening to the people who actually took the time to put the work in, figure it out, and then try to tell you. Which is insane to me. But whatever. Moving on. Chapter 15. Make them want to follow you. Excuse me. Respect must be earned. We have to continually prove ourselves. We have to show that our primary consideration is not ourselves and our sensitive egos, but the welfare of the group. That right there encapsulates people over profit. Do you understand that? We practice what we preach, working harder than others, sacrificing our own interests if necessary, and being accountable for any mistakes. What drives you is not getting attention, but bringing about the best results possible for the most people. You absorb yourself in the work, not your ego. That is people over profit. And luckily we got through all those notes. I was getting worried for a minute. I was like, oh, we got a lot more to go through. So I think we got a couple minutes left for Ecclesiastes. So what number did we do last? We didn't get any 4s or 6s today. Drop some 7 if you guys got some value today. I know we didn't talk a lot about price. I know. That's what you're here for, right? I know. But you got to realize, bro, I told you all this was coming. I warned you almost 3 years ago that this was coming. I didn't tell you when. I had no idea when. But I looked, look around at any company there is. Look at their CEO. And look at the people who run that bitch. If they're not good people, that company ain't gonna last, dog. It's that simple. Occam's razor. What is Occam's razor? Google it. Okay? Google it. Now I gotta stop cussing because throw some Bible verses your way. The Lord would not like that. No, he would not. Let me see. I think this is chapter 1, verse 9. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. He didn't try to rhyme that. That's just the English translation, but what has been done is what will be done. What has been is what will be. Basically, in short, history repeats itself. There's nothing new under the sun. My fucking iPad's trying to talk to me. Oh. My freaking iPad is trying to talk to me. Oh, here's a good one. I think this is 4. Okay. Ecclesiastes 4:13. Better was a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who no longer knew how to take advice. You like that one? Ecclesiastes 4:13. Better was a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who no longer knew how to take advice. Whew. Pretty good stuff in here, huh? He who loves... this is 5:10. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. Not bad for some wisdom that's a couple thousand years old, huh? I agree, Edmundo. I agree. I mean, there's other good verses, of course, but those ones really went well with today's presentation. You know what I mean? Because the Bible's a great source for wisdom. Ecclesiastes is surprisingly short, way thinner than Proverbs, but you know, I got Proverbs as well. If you guys, I think I told you about these when I got them, because I know some of you really like the Bible. This I got on Amazon. They're singular books. They're single books, and what they are is they're only half, right? So one side is blank to write notes, and the other side has the verses on it, so that way you can actually take notes along with, you know, what you're reading. So yeah, Proverbs has good stuff if you guys have never read it. The wise will inherit honor, but fools get disgrace. So anyway, that I think is a good way to end the stream. Okay, so it doesn't matter the size of your company. Nothing's too big to fail. You have to work on your character. You have to admit your flaws. You have to put people over profit at the end of the day. Otherwise, to me, it won't work. Then it's just a ticking clock. You're just waiting for your own demise. People are not going to stay. You know what I mean? People are not stupid. Let me rephrase that. People are not stupid in the long run. Okay? A lot of people can be fooled in the beginning. You can be fooled by the flyers and the flashing lights and the jewelry and the cars and all that stuff. I get it. That could be intimidating. Or people with, you know, a large amount of followers on Instagram. You know, they're a celebrity. I get that you could probably be fooled by them at first. Beware the smooth talker, right? That's somewhere in the Bible too, I think. But eventually, those facades and those masks come off. And you eventually see things for what they are. You start to realize, man, all those promises they made, it sounded good in the beginning, but they haven't delivered on anything. Remember that? You remember that charting platform we were supposed to get? We never got it. That channel that second channel I was promised, I never got it. That raise I was promised, I never got it until like the last 3 months, 4 months I was there. So I guess they, you know, partially delivered on that, I guess. But it's like, don't make promises you can't keep. So I'll end it with one more thing. I'll end it on a good note, at least. Okay. Because it might seem like I'm coming off, you know, really harsh and really, you know, like, oh, damn, John, you're like bad mouthing the industry. Well, the industry, of course, you know, Trade House asked me to join. I joined. I got introduced to their following, their followers, right? And we wouldn't be here, you know, had it not been for the industry, had it not been for that company, had it not been for the Trade House, you know, had it not been for Daniel, had it not been, because Daniel, there's a long story with that, but like I DM'd him and we started, you know, talking and stuff. And that's how I think I got introduced to Zach and Jordan, which asked me to join Trade House. And then it was because of Rock that I got on the platform. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of moving parts there that eventually led to where you and I are today. So I'm not saying that the whole industry, you know, was bad or that everything was wrong. There is a lot of good that came out of it. right? So I do have to give them their flowers for that. But with what you're seeing in the industry now, it's not a surprise. I told you this was coming. And here we are. You know, just like when TP hits or liquidity meets, it's like, well, here we are, you know? So that'll be it. I agree, Jordan. And Edmundo, I agree. Do you think we should expect a somewhat sell-off of sometime today since we've had an up day this whole week? No, I don't think so. I think this morning's sell-off was decent, but markets are strong, bro. Markets are strong. Look at that. Well, I deleted everything. Markets are strong, man. They have been since the low. But as it says, I got trust issues every time someone from the industry hits me up to catch up. We never really know somebody's intentions, Vincent. We never truly know. Appreciate that, 2020. Nice, Mason. I appreciate that, Edmundo. I try. You know what I mean? I always tell you that I'm not perfect. I'll get it wrong. I know I cuss a lot. Like, you know, I've got my flaws. You know what I mean? But I try. I do my best. Okay? So with that, y'all be good. Be blessed. We'll be here same time, same place on Monday, the 19th. All right, so have a good weekend. Don't do anything that your mom would not approve of. All right, see you next week.
Just as my form starts to fission, losing this war of attrition. Just as I drift away, will you hold this eclipse in me? Will you hold this eclipse in me? Will you hold this eclipse in me? Eclipse in me, with the shadows longer to me than a light, yeah. Moving so slow I could die. Say you can let me say, will you hold this eclipse in me? Will you hold this eclipse in me? Eclipse in me. Will you hold this eclipse in me?